What's up, everybody? Today we are going to build a helmet stand, wall-mounted helmet stand for the new Boba Fett Black Series helmet. I've got a few I've already made, and apologize the mess. The garage is kind of a disaster. I have a bunch of projects, but basically, there's not much to it. What I use is a half-inch iron plate. We got half-inch PVC. There's this one connector here that screws directly in to the metal, and then there's the adapter for the half-inch tubing. And you need 190-degree. There is glue and a styrofoam ball, and then other than that, paint to your own desire. I've done black on the other two I have, which I'll show you in a bit. I'm going to do black on this one. So first, one thing I want to show you is how to determine, because every helmet's a little different. The other two I have, the length away from the wall before you put the 90-degree angle on, it's going to be different for every helmet. So basically, what I do, you can either put this base, directly against the wall, and then kind of hold the helmet up over it. As you can see my mark there, I've already held the helmet up. I've decided I wanted it just barely away from the wall, not too far out to where it looks like it's hanging off a huge pole. I try and make them as discreet as possible. So to give you kind of an idea, let's see here. So this is obviously just kind of a reference. If I were to make this metal base touch just maybe half an inch away from the wall, you can see this mark I have here is almost dead center. I mean, obviously the helmet's a little tilted as far as the way the weight is, so if I put this line dead center of the helmet, we're poking out maybe an inch, inch and a half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this cut, put our 90 on, and then take this extra piece and see where we're sitting. So what I'm going to do after you make your mark, like I say, you just put it against the wall, kind of hold your helmet up, maybe have a second pair of hands to gauge how far away from the wall you want it, and then where you want your 90, it's going to end up in the middle of the helmet here where the weight and the styrofoam ball is going to sit. So being right there, I am a little over, but that should be a little excess for me, as I don't think I'll need any more PVC. So what I'm going to do right now, use my little nice cutoff wheel, cut this baby up, put the 90 on it, and we'll be right back. And we're back. So we've dremeled off our piece here, the one that goes from the wall out, and I cut it where I marked it and I showed you, and then I ended up cutting, as you can see right there, about another ½ inch off, and then we just put it together, no glue, and I got the styrofoam ball. So basically what you're going to want to do is put that up against the wall, put the helmet on, and see where we're at. So let me show you that here real quick. That way we can get an idea if we're looking good in our placement or not. Excuse the camera, my gimbal's kind of acting up. Let's see. There we go. Alright. So, like I say, everything's just loosely put together. So we're going to pretend it's going on the wall here, and we're going to take our helmet and kind of try and place it right in the middle on top. And as we can see, I've got maybe barely an inch behind it, so I think that's good. However, if I can move this up so you can see it, it looks like our pole's still sticking down quite a little bit to where it's not really hidden. So I think the next step is we'll pull the ball off. I've kind of marked where it's at right here with the Sharpie. I think we need to go down probably another inch at least, so we'll cut off an inch, put this back on, and see where it's at. So give me just a minute and we'll show you that. Okay, now that we've got, I took about an inch and a half off of this top post here. So let's go ahead, see if I can get it right in the frame there. Let's go ahead and mock it up here, see where we're at. This helmet's kind of weird on the weight distribution, so I could maybe even cut another 1/2 inch off, but I think I'm going to leave it as far as the length out from the wall. But otherwise, the height of it from the 90 looks just about right. I think, let's see here, let me just double check this. I think where it's sitting now is pretty good. I think if I go down any lower, the back of the helmet is going to touch, and I don't really want that. So as you can kind of see here, we're maybe 1/2 inch from the back of the helmet to where the wall will be, and just a 1/2 inch or so from hitting the bottom. And obviously once this is all glued together, it's going to hold the helmet a lot sturdier. And like I say, the reason I kind of did it this way is just because every helmet's a little different size. So pulling it apart, test fitting it, and cutting it as you go, it's just a lot easier. You really only need like one, I think it's the 24-inch sticks you can get of this 1/2 inch PVC. And then the foam balls, this is like a 4.7-inch one. They're like $4 at Walmart. And then I just basically went to town and pushed it in most of the way. It probably only goes up kind of right up into the 3/4 part of it. So there's still room in case it goes down. So yeah, basically all we got left, since I'm pretty happy with where it's at, is just a few other things I'll show you. So like on the very edge, right there used to be some wording and whatnot around on that connector, and then as well as on the 90 itself. I just took an X-Acto blade and kind of cleaned it up. I could, get rid of that little nub in there and all that, but I don't care too much because I didn't do that to the rest. You can if you want, if you got a Dremel. At this point, I'm basically just going to glue everything together, and then we're going to use just black spray paint. And this is the glue I ended up getting for the last two. It's kind of a different one. There's probably other things out there that'll work too, but this is what I decided to go for, just because it's a good all-weather glue. And more specifically, I don't know if it says on here, it's probably more on the packaging, but it is a long drying time. But it still works really good. And I think the main reason I went with this is because I wanted something that was specific for, obviously says specifically for tradesmen, but basically it's good for PVC and metal, and I don't know if styrofoam was on there, but the styrofoam doesn't matter as much. And then the only other thing I haven't done to these, which I may do in the future, is probably just get some fabric real cheap, black or whatever color you want, and then just use little push pins and put a piece of fabric over this. You can't really see it anyways unless you have like a light in the helmet or something, but maybe just so the little foam pieces don't fall off when you take the helmet off and on the stand. Just covering it with fabric and some glue, or either just fabric and using some push pins like on the back side where you wouldn't see it, just to give it that little extra look. So basically now, like I say, I'm going to glue everything together and paint it, and we'll show you the next step. Real quick, I just want to throw in, before I paint it, since I taken it apart, I did a favor for anybody that is making the Black Series Boba Fett length of this stand. I went ahead and measured these pieces out for you. So there's a quick little reference. You got the iron plate, the little 1/2 inch adapter, the one in with the threads and one with the piece. I think the iron plates are like $4 or $5 at Home Depot, if even that. Just test fit your little 1/2 inch piece into the threads. It doesn't go in very far before it gets tight, so I'm not actually gonna glue that into each other because it's pretty sturdy. And in case I ever want to adjust stuff, or switch this stand out to a different spot on the wall and not have to move the iron plate, that'll just make it easier. So yeah, we've got 4.5 inches for the short piece that comes from the wall adapter part to the 90°, and then the long stem part that goes up into the styrofoam ball is 6 3/4 inches. So yeah, I just want to let you guys know in case you're building this one for yourself. And what I'm going to do is use some 400 grit sandpaper, sand everything down, scuff it down, minus the iron plate, paint it, and we will be back. Okay, just a couple quick last things. We've got everything glued together. Everything sanded down with 400 grit, not super crazy. And obviously I didn't sand the middle base because it'll adhere pretty well. The one thing I wanted to show you, like I said, I didn't glue in this adapter piece, but I did glue this piece into the adapter. And one thing I try and do is, depending on where your threads sit up, I try and make it so that all my holes are basically square like this. So that way, when you're positioning your 90-degree on, I basically try and get it so it's going straight up in between, as you can kind of see, both holes. That way when you're going to drill it, since this is pretty short, you don't want this pipe in the way of your drill when you're trying to put the screws in, etc. So I just want to show you that. So we'll get to spraying that. I just use it's fairly cheap stuff, but it does really well. That's what I sprayed my other ones with. Just a Rust-Oleum gloss black, and then I will throw some clear coat on it just so the paint doesn't chip up easily. But seriously guys, the main thing, sand it, wipe it down, make sure there's no dirt. This little adapter here did have some glue and stuff on it, which kind of looks like it still does, but I just used Goo Gone and wiped it all off, and there's just kind of some black residue left behind after I sanded it down. So anyways, the main thing with this, don't go heavy right away or it's going to run. You're going to get little fish eye holes and you'll have white shining through. So seriously, just go at it in seriously light coats. So kind of hit the base a little harder, and we'll kind of use our finger, grab the end of the pipe where paint doesn't matter as much, and that's a little heavier than I normally go, but as you can see what I mean, we're just doing a real light dusting. There's not a whole lot to it, because that way if you do a couple of really light coats at first and then throw on a nice heavy layer, it'll come out looking perfect. You won't have any sags or runs. You won't have to sand it down and redo it basically. So anyways, I'm just gonna let this dry for a few minutes, go with another coat, and we'll just keep going. Alright, we've let that sit for a few minutes, so now we're gonna go with another one. What I'm gonna do this time though, I'm gonna use my finger to kind of hold it, and we're really gonna try and get down on the base of these connections here, just because those are kind of the hardest to paint. So let's go with that. Doesn't take too much. Just like I say, kind of spraying the hard to get areas first. All the threads there and the different edges. And this 90 here. That side, I'll get this kind of corner edge. And then finally kind of the top area and the back as well. That part I'm not too concerned about because you really don't ever see that part. If I can get it to switch, this part here. And I'm not too worried about the very top because the styrofoam ball is going to cover that. So I think we're got everything pretty well coated. Just got to get the rest of that 90 under here. And just kind of double check our work, all the threads, everything else looks pretty coated. So again, we're just going to let that dry for a few minutes, and we'll probably hit it with one more strong coat. If I can get my finger out, that would be nice. There we go. Hit it with one more strong coat, and then, oh, I can see I missed a spot. There we go. yeah, we'll let that dry, throw another coat on it, clear coat it, and then we'll get to putting it on the wall and you'll get to see the finished product. All right, we are back. We have our pipe all painted, nice and glossy. Some of the styrofoam's already coming off, but otherwise good enough. I did notice I used to have one of my other helmets right here. I did notice though, this is the one from that. Just to give you guys an idea, I did probably make this one a little bit bigger than I need to, but this is for my Clone Trooper helmet, so there is a reason why it's significantly longer and bigger, just because that helmet sits in a weird fashion and it had to be farther away from the wall. And obviously, as you can tell, it looks like I went with only the 3-inch balls on those, so either one works. I think the little bit bigger one's a little better, just so it can sit a little easier and not fall where the weight goes. But I did glue those on apparently, so I am going to basically, because I had this one sitting right here and it was kind of right in the middle of this wall space, I took that one off. I'm going to fill those holes later, but I'm going to end up putting Boba's helmet here and putting the Clone Trooper up in there. So basically, I can't find either of my 2 levels that I own for whatever reason. So what I'm going to do is basically put her on the wall. We're going to try and just eyeball it, make sure that's, you know, not leaning one way or the other, which I've already kind of went ahead and done that. I've got my holes right here. So really the only other thing to do is get yourself some of these plastic anchors and screws set. Let me get in there. Just 3 is all I had on the other one, because these support up to 10 pounds, so I'm sure 1's probably good. I just did 4 on the Shock Trooper one there. I did 3 because it was kind of hidden, so you couldn't even tell. So we've got our drill bit. And we've got our 4 holes marked here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I've actually got a stairway that goes down, so it's kind of awkward, which is why the phone is sitting where it's at. But go with our marks here. And I can tell my drill bit's off a little, so I'm going to fix that. It's kind of wobbling. And I kind of round them out just a little bit. Makes it easier to get the plastic piece in. Okay, and before I go ahead with this first one, you can see it probably better because it was bigger. The other 3 holes I was able to get right in the middle with my, I used the Milwaukee Sharpies because those things are amazing. But this one corner kind of messed up with me, so let's see here, just to double check our holes and where we're lined up. Yep, that still looks pretty darn straight. I think our hole is just a smidge off, so I'm going to go right above it. I can tell kind of where I need to go. Okay. Obviously, you always want to check, make sure there's no electrical or anything, you know, water pipes or anything like that hidden behind the drywall that you could potentially puncture into. I just know this is an exterior wall to the addition we have, so there's literally only electricity on this one part here you can't see, and that's it. So we'll get our 4 anchors here, and so yeah, like I said, some of these are pretty hard to get in. That's why I kind of round out those holes a little bit. I can tell, Yeah, these two definitely need to be rounded out just a little more. All right, and we'll put these in. Make sure my phone didn't fall. And give me 2 seconds. Go grab my hammer here. I also like to round them out a little bit because if they're too tight and you go to hammer it in, chances are the half that's sticking out is going to bend and then it's just going to ruin it. These are like $5 for the package of 20 of them at Walmart. So now those are in and good. Switch out our drill bit here. Get a couple screws. And I've got this nice DeWalt attachment. This really helps when you're drilling stuff straight in. Or just holding a really long screw in an awkward position. You just put the sleeve over it and it kind of helps hold it and guide it. So go with our top right one first. And I just kind of like get them started. That way I can kind of make sure everything's still lined up and positioned well. Okay, grab our other two. Now I'm going to have to kind of stand on my railing, get a good eye on this. And this right here is why I was saying you want to put your bolt holes when it comes to the thread and the 90 on the sides, so that way you don't have a bolt right on top and you're trying to, you know, get in it and you're going to mess up your paint and stuff like that. So with this technique, it works perfect. And those are decently secure. I'm not going to go hard on them, but you get the gist. And then bring our fett helmet over. And boom. Just like that. Looks pretty good. Like I say, I'm gonna go ahead and throw my other helmet right above it, right in here, I think. And then that's basically it for now. Hope to acquire a few more helmets in the near future. But like I said, here's kind of the finished product. Obviously this one's even a different size than both the clone and fett helmet, just like I say, because just in size comparison, I mean, looking at the two, the fett helmet's actually a little bit smaller than the Shock Trooper one. So anyways, hopefully you guys will like this and it'll work good for you. Like I say, I'll end up still gluing that, and then I'll either put some fabric or paint or something on it. But frankly, when you're coming up the stairs here, let me kind of just give you an idea. When you're coming up my spiral staircase, you can really only see that much as far as when you're up here. Excuse the room. So yeah, I'll definitely paint that one just because that one's noticeable now. And that one's not too bad. But yeah, I'll be making some more videos here soon. Show you guys kind of the collection room here. We've got the bike to work on, do some mods. We've got the Supra that we're doing body work and doing some other things too. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and it's useful for you. Like I say, everything can be bought at like Home Depot and Walmart for pretty darn cheap, right under 20 bucks. I think it was 20 bucks the first time, and I made two. So I had the one piece of scrap pipe, and then just had to spend a little bit to get the other pieces. Anyhow, have a great one.